Today I wanted to make a video sharing my thoughts about the future of Windows and why I'm deciding to switch for Linux. Okay, so in the last weeks, I've made a bunch of videos explaining why I canceled my subscriptions with Adobe Creative Cloud and Microsoft 365. And after making these videos, I figured that I would actually put Microsoft Windows to this test and try to understand where it's going and if Microsoft, what they're doing is actually in my own best interest, okay? And so if you're trying to figure out what's happening with Microsoft Windows or if Linux is good for you, then this video could be for you, okay? So let's go right in. So first of all, I have to say that I learned computer science and I've been quite a long time user of Windows, and I basically grew up using only Windows, and I use Linux a little bit, okay, mostly Ubuntu and Linux Mint, and I learned a little bit Linux in my spare time simply to explore, and I also learned Linux at university, okay. But it was always nothing too serious because I always came back to Windows because I always found Windows simpler to use, and that's pretty much it, okay? But lately I've been questioning myself about Windows, and I decided to cancel my Microsoft 365 subscription, and so I figured that I would take time to research about Windows and see where it's heading, and that's what I'm sharing with you, okay? So the first point that I wanted to talk about is Windows as a service, okay? And for this point here, I'm gonna use my laptop because it still has Windows on it because my desktop is on Linux. So as of right now, Windows always followed the licensed business model, which means that when you get Windows or purchase Windows, then you own this version of Windows. But you see, in the next version of Windows, Windows 12, there have been many rumors saying that Windows 12 could be a subscription, or you'll have to pay on a monthly basis, okay? And so when I see these kinds of things, I think that in the future, Windows could potentially become a service, okay? A software as a service or SaaS, whatever you want to call it, okay? And personally, I don't like subscription. I hate that. I don't like SaaS, software as a service. I don't want to rent my software, and to be completely honest, I think that it's cancer, okay? I want to own my software. I want to own it, okay? And when you look at everything that Microsoft has done right now, if you analyze everything right now, okay, and I'm just going to show you. So the first thing that I'm going to show you here is Copilot Pro, which is basically the new AI feature that they released, and as of right now, Copilot Pro is $27 per month, okay? And so basically Copilot Pro, since they purchased ChatGPT, what they've done is that they also included Copilot Pro literally inside the operating system, okay? Literally at the bottom here. I don't know if you can see my cursor here, but this is Copilot Pro, okay? And it is literally included inside my Windows. So that's one thing. And you can also access Copilot in the Microsoft apps. In this case, I'm on OneNote. I'm in OneNote. So you have this Copilot button if you go in Home and Copilot. But you see right now I'm in OneNote, but in reality, Copilot, they're including it in all the Microsoft apps, okay? So it is inside Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, and even Outlook, I think. And so this Copilot thing, they're including it everywhere, okay? But you see all these softwares, these Microsoft softwares, for example, OneNote and Outlook, you have to pay this plan here, Microsoft 365, which I just subbed. Okay, so what I think is going to happen is that at some point, I think that Copilot Pro is going to be included inside this subscription here, and it's going to be the same thing with the business as well. So ultimately, I think that Windows is also going to be included in this subscription. Okay, so ultimately, I think that the service of Windows is all going to be included in this thing. Another thing that I wanted to talk about also is OneDrive, okay? And OneDrive is made in such a way that OneDrive synchronizes basically everything with Windows, okay? Pretty much all of your system is synchronizing with OneDrive with the cloud. Okay, so right here, I have a bunch of files here, but you see, that's because I cleaned up a bunch of my things because I don't want Microsoft to synchronize everything. But by default, OneDrive, which is Microsoft Cloud, is synchronizing pretty much all of your computer and all of your files with their server, okay? So you gotta keep that in mind. And another thing that I want to show you here is literally inside Windows. Since I think it started with Windows 11, when you use Windows 11, you kind of have to use your own Microsoft account. So in this case, I'm logged in using my Microsoft account, and in the settings of Windows 11, you have everything related to your account. You have all the information related to your account. So the subscriptions as well, and everything related to the cloud and the storage and everything related to your account. Okay, so your Microsoft account is connected to all these services. The second point that I wanted to talk about is AI and cloud. Okay, and it has been confirmed that the next version of Windows is going to be optimized for AI and cloud. Okay, they already announced it. And I personally think that AI and technology and cloud, those are really great things that are very convenient to use. And to be completely honest, I'm personally all about AI. I use AI every day to run my business, and when I have some question, I use AI to solve my problems. But you have to keep in mind that AI is kind of a double-edged sword, okay? Because yes, AI is great, it improves the world, and you're able to solve a lot of problems using these things at a faster rate. But the question that you have to ask yourself is, who is in control of this AI, okay? Because you see, what Microsoft is doing here by implementing Copilot into the operating system is that you'll be able to use Copilot and you'll be able to control the computer using Copilot and the AI, but in reality, who is really in control of this AI? Who is really in control of Copilot? And so yes, you'll be able to use AI, but it's going to be on Microsoft's terms and not yours, okay? So ultimately, it is Microsoft that is in control of AI, and if the AI has control over your computer, then that means that Microsoft has full control over your computer and not you. Do you see the danger of this? Okay, this is absolutely crazy. And another thing that you have to keep in mind is that cloud and AI are not free, okay? And AI and cloud, they require computer power to do their things, and they require resources to be able to provide these things. And so I think that ultimately Microsoft, they'll need to make money to make this sustainable, okay? And so that leads me to my third point, which is free with the subscription option, okay? Because you see, I don't think that Windows is going to be entirely subscription based, okay? Because if Windows goes and asks for subscriptions tomorrow and whatever, I think that that would alienate way too many people, because like too many people and too many companies are relying on Microsoft for the operating system, okay? And so I think it's going to be quite the opposite. So what I think they're going to do is that Windows is going to be completely free, okay? And you see, and when you actually think about it, it is already free in a way. And so unless you're building your own computer, you don't really have to purchase a Windows license. Because when you purchase a computer, let's say at any store, usually Windows is already installed on the computer, okay? And so I don't think that's going to change. It's going to keep doing the same thing, but the difference is that I think Microsoft is simply going to be free. It is going to be free of cost, but not necessarily completely free. Because what I mean by that is that I think you'll have a free version of Windows, and then if you don't want the free version, then you'll have a subscription. And I think that the difference that we'll see is that the free version will be ad supported. Okay, so the free version of Windows, you'll have ads, and you'll be bloated or whatever you want to call it. And if you don't want any ads, and then if you want to have access to all this subscription here and have access to all these softwares, then you'll have to pay a subscription. And so, for example, here, Microsoft, they recently released a new Outlook app for emails and calendar, okay? But you see, the new Outlook is free to use technically. But you see, the free version of Outlook is ad supported, okay? And so yes, you can use Outlook for free, but you'll have a bunch of ads in Outlook, okay? And if you don't want any ads, then you'll have to get one of these packages, to remove all the ads. So ultimately, what I think is that Windows and the entire operating system is going to be ad supported with the free version. And then if you don't want any ads, or if you need any of these apps, then you'll have to get one of these subscriptions. So ultimately, if you don't want to pay a Microsoft subscription, and if you don't want any ads, I think what you'll need at some point, if you decide to stay on Windows, is that you'll need an ad blocker for the whole system, okay? Because right now, one of the things that is popular right now is ad blockers for the browser. But I think that at some point, if you're going to need to use Windows and you don't want to pay for a subscription, you'll need to have an ad blocker for the whole system, okay? Something like AdGuard here, okay? This is a service that I tried and I'd used, but something like AdGuard that basically blocks everything. I don't think that makes sense. And personally, I don't really support that. I don't think it's a good business model, and this is not something that I can trust, okay? So that led me to my fourth point, which is ownership, freedom, security, and privacy. Because yes, the AI and the cloud are very convenient, and those are things that I use every day, but there's always a trade-off to anything that you do, okay? And in this case, with Windows, the trade-off is that you'll be analyzed and you'll be monitored, and you'll have a bunch of ads. You see, Windows is already known for monitoring a bunch of things on your Windows operating system, but you see, with AI that is coming and with the cloud that is coming, then it's only going to get worse. And I think that in the future, I think that online privacy and data security is going to become more and more relevant in the future for both softwares and Windows and all these things, but also video games. And so if Windows is cloud-based and relies a lot on the cloud, then that also means that you'll need an internet connection at all times to synchronize with their server. So you'll always need an internet connection, and that means that your computer will always be monitored and connected with everything. And so when you actually think about it, that's a quite scary thing. Because you see, it's not just about owning the software themselves. I realized that it's also related to the data that is associated with everything. You see, all your behavior, those things are all data, okay? And so companies like Google's and Microsoft and Amazon, that's what they take. They take all this information and all your activities, and then they sell it to everybody. And so me, as someone that use the computer very extensively, that's a very scary thing to do. I use my computer, I use the internet very, very much, and so I don't want everything to be monitored for the profit of somebody else, in this case, a major corporation. And that led me to my fifth point, which is Linux. And Linux is a free and open source operating system, and so that means that anybody can look at the code to see exactly what the program does. And so with Linux, there's nothing really to hide, and the only trade-off with this is that you need some coding and technical skills, because with Linux, you're actually in control of your computer. So yes, it might require more technical knowledge. In my case, I am comfortable with computer, so I'm okay with that. But ultimately, I'm not being spied on, and I'm not being monitored, and I'm actually in control of my computer and of the things that I'm doing. That being said, I'm quite lucky in my case because I'm an online entrepreneur as well, so I don't depend on an employer or a company to do my work, so I can just change the apps the way I want. And so what I need is simply to get the job done, and that's pretty much it, okay? So all the productivity apps or whatever. So that leads me to my sixth point, which is my hopes and what I want, okay? And so for me, what I want is that I want an ad-free experience on my computer with softwares that I own and that I can trust. And yes, I think that software as a service and monthly subscription can be a good business model from a business perspective. I understand it very, very much. But as a customer and as a consumer, I think it's cancer, okay? And I want to be able to purchase and own my softwares. I don't want to rent them, and I don't want to be monitored at all time. And that's basically what I would love to see, okay? And I would love to see more people and more companies and also more video games that stay away from the subscription-based models and that respect the privacy and the freedom and the ownership of the customers. And that's why I think that more companies and people should support Linux users. But for that to happen, I think that everybody needs to make a small change on either an individual level or even on a corporate level. Maybe like the smaller companies need to prove to the bigger companies that it is possible, because as of right now, bigger companies like Adobe, they're not supporting the Linux users, but smaller companies, I think, for example, DaVinci Resolve, they're supporting Linux user, and so I currently have DaVinci Resolve on my computer, which I think is really great. And as of right now, Affinity is not supporting Linux users. They're only supporting Mac OS and Windows, but I would love to see more companies supporting Linux users. And personally, I think that Affinity here, those are great programs. But for now, I can use alternatives, and for now, I'm going to use free and open source software like Inkscape and GIMP to meet these needs. So in conclusion, I don't really like the direction that Microsoft is taking. I think that yes, Microsoft is going to implement a bunch of new tech things like the cloud and the AI, but ultimately what is going to happen is that you'll have an experience that is either full of ads or bloated softwares, and you'll need an ad blocker for the whole system to don't have any ads. So that's if you use the free version. But then if you don't want that, and if you want a decent experience with Windows, you'll have to pay a monthly subscription like the Microsoft 365 subscription to have a decent experience. And also, you'll most likely be monitored and analyzed with AI in the cloud, because everything inside Windows is hidden, so you don't really know what the AI is doing and you don't really know what the computer is doing, okay? And also, you might have the impression that you're in control of AI, but in reality, you don't really know what's happening, okay? So it's gonna be a bunch of all these things, I think. And so a solution to this is to switch to Linux. And yes, Linux requires a bit more technical knowledge, but in my case, I'm willing to deal with it because I'm comfortable with computers. But you see, ultimately what I get is that I get to own my softwares because the softwares are either free and open source, or I buy hopefully a lifetime license, so I own them. And it's also a cost-effective, ad-free, without subscription. So you see, Linux right now, as of right now, doesn't require a subscription, doesn't require anything because it's free. It doesn't have any ads and it doesn't have the subscriptions. And also I get to own my data and I'm not always monitored and analyzed by my operating system. And also Linux is about online privacy, freedom and security, and I'm still able to do my work, I'm still able to use productivity app. And finally, Linux is not really up to date with gaming, but I'm able to do a little bit of gaming, okay? So that's pretty cool too. So that's pretty much it for this video. I hope that this video was helpful to you, and if this video was valuable to you, you could consider liking this video, subscribing to my channel, and if you have any question or comment, you can leave them below because I will answer everything. And your thoughts and comment could also be valuable to other people, okay? And you could also consider watching this video right here where I explain why I canceled my Microsoft 365 subscription, okay? So that's it. Peace.